Hello, everyone. This is Platinum Leader Justine Shyne here today, leader of Team Eclipse and with Archer and Evolution Travel. We are talking about booking group travel 101. So this is going to be some basics, and it's not necessarily this is what you have to do every time, okay? Yes, some of it will be like that, of course, right? Because we have a host agency, we have to follow some certain protocols with them. But these are a lot of tips, tricks, ideas, the processes that I personally have taken when working with groups, okay? I just finished a 30-room group cruise booking, okay? So through that process, I learned a ton. I have booked one or two other groups as well of different types of travel, all right? So I figured I would come here and help all you guys out with just my perspective on things and the right process for things too. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Google Doc I have for you guys. You should have that in the chat for those who are here. If you are watching this recording from my YouTube channel, you're going to see the link for this document in the description of the YouTube video. All right, so you can refer there. There's also a spreadsheet I am going to share with you guys right now. Same thing for those watching. Take a look at that video description to find this as well. All right. I'll get to the spreadsheet later. All right, there is that. I'm going to put that in the chat for you guys as well. And there you go. All right. Ashley, you were late. No problem. Let me go ahead and post the full document of what we're looking at one more time. Okay. So there are two things for you guys, the group management template and just all of the info I'm sharing today. So let's dive into this. We're going to talk about the general tips for group travel. Okay, so first and foremost, communication is critical. Okay, at the beginning stage of working with your group, you want to establish who the group leader is, and that's going to be your point of contact throughout this whole booking process. Okay, and it's super important in the beginning stage, of course, because you don't want to be talking to all of these different people. I mean, your group could be as small as 5 rooms at a hotel, or it could be as large as what I had, 30 rooms at double occupancy on a cruise ship. Okay, so I don't think you want to be talking to that many people almost every single day, right? So again, important to have that group lead contact. Now, with that is going to be the person you want to start your inquiry process with as well. And that's going to be the way that you qualify all of your individual clients regularly in your business, okay? Get on the phone with the group leader and really get to know what the group needs, all of those pieces and parts. And I'll talk more about that in just a couple minutes. All right, so second here, group travel almost always comes with group amenities, okay? So you want to understand what those amenities can look like based on the vendor you're working with for your group. It's going to help you, keep them on board with booking with you, okay? And second of all, if you decide to advertise your group, there's group amenities involved. That's a nice incentive to have some additional bookings join your group as well. Okay, so third, I just talked about it a little bit, but again, advertise your groups online and in your local community, guys, okay? The group that I just finished working with, the group cruise, 30 rooms, okay? That was the original group that I worked with. However, I gained, 20 rooms out of that was the original group, okay? The last 10 rooms I had in that group were because I advertised the cruise on my social media platforms, okay? I gained more bookings because of that. Just because you advertise it does not mean that the the bookings within that group that get added on have to be with the people in your original group throughout that whole travel. No, all right? So don't think that just because a group comes to you, you have to stick with that and you can't add people to it, okay? It's just going to add commission for you guys, okay? Kaylee, no, absolutely not. So you asked, they don't have to know each other? No, right? I have those 20 rooms from my original group that came to me, right? I, of course, gave them first picking. Once that slowed down, I started advertising to other people, the general public, things like that, okay? And really, you're just adding them into the group so that they can get group benefits. That's what it is, okay? Again, it doesn't mean that they have to be with the people you booked the original group with throughout the entire time. They can go do their own thing. You're just providing the room and flights and whatever it is for them, okay? Let's see, Tracy asks, what happens if you don't book all 20 rooms? That's something I'll touch on a little bit. That's more of a nitty-gritty question. It depends on the vendor and a lot of other factors, okay? So I can't get too specific on that because of that. And then Sophia, you asked, how and where do you advertise? Wherever you have your business, you want to advertise, okay? My business is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I have a business listing on Google, okay? You can advertise through all of those platforms. And you want to find group travel groups on Facebook, okay? That will help a lot as well. Do I travel with my group? Unfortunately, I haven't been able to with the groups I've worked with, okay? If I was available, yes, absolutely, because that is going to help you establish a more personalized relationship with your clients, right? And especially if you don't know or haven't worked with the members of your group in the group booking, that's a way to, again, establish a relationship with them further for them to keep coming back to you and book their own individual travel in the future. Okay, so that's another thing too with groups, guys. I recommend trying to dive into it and getting those group clients, okay? Because again, that's going to create even more individual client bookings for you. All right. So with that being said, let's keep going here. So I just touched on number 3. Let's go ahead and touch on number 4 here. Groups need to be planned well in advance. Okay, guys, I recommend at least 6 months before the travel date, simply because you're working with a lot of people. Everyone needs to be on the same page. Everyone needs to prepare themselves for the deposit and final payments, okay? In your inquiry qualification process with the group leader, one thing I list is to make sure that people are deposit ready, and we'll talk more about that as well. Okay, but there's that. If you have a group that comes to you sooner, it's okay. Don't shy them away. Okay, don't say, no, I can't do that. Take it on, but make sure again that everyone is on the same page so that we're not going back and forth, wasting time making decisions as a group. All right, and let's see, did I go to number 5 yet? Yes. Okay. No, I did not. So lastly on here, just a general tip and trick. Some vendors, if you call them, a lot of cruise lines will do this, guys. If you call them to help them help you establish your group, they will probably be able to do that for you. Resorts and hotels are a little trickier. Okay. But with cruise lines, a lot of times you can call and have them set that up for you. All right, so if you do that, you want to pay attention to the rest of this here, okay? You want to make sure you have all the information they need, such as names of the hotel or resort. If it's a cruise, you need to know the exact itinerary, the ship name, sailing dates, okay? Along with all of the number of rooms and room categories that are needed. All right, when you are in the process of getting that group quote request, you always want to have maybe a few extra rooms per category in comparison to what the group actually needs, okay? Because again, if you're going to choose to advertise outside of the group, you're going to want that room, all right? So they have that group rate available. Now, let's move on to our steps to booking group travel, guys, okay? So now we are going to talk about the inquiry stage. For those of you following along in the Google Doc, we are on page 2, all right? Let me see, Samantha, I see your question here. We'll talk about that later, okay? Save your question and post it later when I get to the manage bookings piece, okay? I just don't want to go back and forth too far. All right. So now we're going to talk about the inquiry stage, guys. Now, like I said, the group leader is going to be your main point of contact for this. Okay. So make sure you're always able to get in contact with them quickly if needed. But in the inquiry stage, they're going to be the person that you want to qualify for the entire group. Okay. So the same questions you would ask for an individual client booking is what you would want to ask your group leader. But there are a few extra things you want to ask. And so I have listed those things here for you guys as well, okay? So you have all your ducks in a row, so to speak. All right, so one, of course, how many rooms are needed? Make sure your client knows that for cruises, double occupancy is needed to get a group rate, okay? A lot of times, double occupancy is what is needed, along with hotels and resorts as well. All right, single occupancy, it's going to be a different rate and it will not be a group rate. Okay, so there is that. Second, Ask, will people be traveling from different airports or the same airport? That's important, guys, because if you have people leaving from all over the place, I'm just going to tell you, save yourself the hassle and have them book their flight themselves, okay? Or else you're going to be pulling your hair out trying to figure out how you're going to manage all of that. And that in itself is a whole nother project, okay? So there is that. If everyone's leaving from the same airport, they can either choose their own flights, okay? Or you can do it for them. It's up to you in that situation, all right? Third here, ask them, would your group like to plan any group activities or excursions, or do they want to kind of leisurely do things on their own? All right. Either way, highly recommend to book those excursions and activities, okay? There is that. Next, will they be needing group or individual airport transportation? Of course, all right. Will they be deposit ready? What is everyone comfortable spending? Okay, you don't want to get a group quote to you from a vendor that people can't really partake in, right? Because it's too expensive for them. That's important. And then lastly, an additional question you might want to ask, does everyone have a valid passport? And not just a valid passport, guys, but it needs to be valid 6 months post-travel. Okay, so those are some additional questions to ask on top of what you would normally ask a client. Okay, let me pause there for a second because I do see a couple questions in the chat here. Let me scroll up a little bit. Let's see. Oh, thank you for posting that document again. I appreciate it. All right, let's see. Harold, have the crew. Oh, my chat box is doing something funky. Let me see. All right, have the cruise line help. Do you still get the commission? Harold, yes. So you're just going to want to let them know I'm a travel agent calling in regards to a group booking that I would like to establish. Okay, they'll ask for your agency information and just make sure you ask for the commissionable rate. All right. Let's see here. What other questions do I have? Diane, great question. If the group members do not know each other, how do you determine who the group leader is? So in my experience, I mean, I've only booked a couple groups, right? But usually it's one person that comes to you and says, hey, I have a bunch of people who are interested in going to wherever to do whatever, right? So usually you're going to know who the group leader is. Also, if you have a vacation quote request form, the person who fills that out for the group, I would consider that to be the group leader. All right. I find it very rare you're going to have a bunch of random people come to you for the exact same type of travel. All right. Oh, Anicia, what is double occupancy? It just means 2 people per room. Okay. And then last question here. Oh, thank you, Samantha. Yes, absolutely. So you would designate if they cannot choose for the group leader. Absolutely. Okay. And then Kaylee, let's see. But if you are adding people who do not know the main group, I don't quite understand that. I think I know what you mean. So I guess so guys, the group leader is the person, let me back up here. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. So when you have a group come to you, you have one person that you want to be talking to, right? That is for your original group of people that you are working with, okay? They're all going to have something in common, right? There's a reason they all want to travel together and things like that. So that's your original group. There's one person you're talking to in that group, okay? Once you have booked their rooms, if you're going to advertise to other people, the general public, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if there's a group leader for them, right? They're just individual bookings you're adding on to help them get a better rate and have some additional amenities. That's all it is. It's nothing special. Okay. Yeah. Yes, not too complicated. All right. But good question. I appreciate it. So moving on, guys, let's talk about, let's see, we did number 1 here. Let's go to number 2 of the inquiry stage. Okay. So let's talk about if the group does not have the standard number of rooms needed for a group. Okay, I have had it happen to me several times. I don't know if anyone else has, where you get an inquiry and they think they're a group because they have a bunch of people, right? But realistically, they don't have the right number of rooms to qualify for a group rate. That is something super important you want your group leader to understand at the beginning stage of things, okay? Let them know sorry, but you don't qualify for a group rate because of XYZ, all right? But of course, you're still gonna help them get where they need to be. All of those bookings can become individual bookings, all right? Especially if it's a cruise, okay? A lot of times with cruises, guys, you need a minimum of either 5 or 8 staterooms on the cruise ship for it to qualify for the group rate, okay? So if you don't have that, I have some tips and tricks for you guys, okay? We're gonna skip to here and I'll go back to this first one. So if you have a group come to you, they want to cruise, but they don't have a minimum of 5 or 8 staterooms, depends on the cruise line, but everyone books their individual rooms, you advertise that itinerary and you have some random people say, yes, I want to go on that cruise, and they book, right? If you have enough individual rooms that add up to a minimum needed for a group booking, guess what? More times than not, guys, you can call the vendor with those reservation numbers and they can put that all into a group reservation. So now people can start getting those group amenities. How cool is that? All right, guys, that's a lot, which is why I have it written down here for you guys on the document. All right, so let's also talk about resorts and hotels. Okay, let's say you again have a group come to you who thinks they're a group, but really they don't have that minimum of 5 rooms. Okay, what you can do, I love Vax Vacation Access because of this, guys, okay? You can use Group Ease. I use FunJet a lot. Group Ease is just the groups department, the flexible group option for FunJet, okay? So I still request a quote from that group quote from them with Group Ease, okay? And even if you don't book the minimum number of rooms needed for the group, your client is still going to lock in a group rate if they have placed a deposit. Okay, hopefully that makes sense for people. So there is that, okay? I don't think with that option, you're able to add people into the group necessarily like you could with the cruising situation I mentioned, but you can call the vendor and ask, okay? So there is that for you guys. Let me see, I do have a question here. Sarah, 1 second. Yes, Sarah, that's exactly right. Yes, so Sarah asked, if I have clients already with deposits paid for a regular price room, then find others to do the same cruise, they can transfer their existing booking to a group price. Oh, sorry, not necessarily to a group price because a deposit's already been placed. Okay, once a deposit's put down, the price they were given is the price that they are stuck with, okay? But by doing what you just said, instead of them getting the group price, they're gonna get group amenities. Okay, so there is that. Now, April, is Group Ease with FunJet all online, or do you have to call in? Both. Okay, so FunJet is in Vax Vacation Access. You just go to the Group Bookings tab in Vax and go down to FunJet. You'll see the Group Ease option. Okay, and you can either call or submit a form within their platform. All right. And then Sarah, let me see here. Yes, exactly. And Sarah, I don't even know why I didn't think of this to say at the beginning. So thank you, because it's a lot of information for groups, guys. Okay, but Sarah asked, so do I have to find a group of clients before booking, even if they don't know each other, to then book together? Yes, basically, yeah, right. So if you're going to get a group rate, you have to have the right number of rooms in advance. You have to know that those are going to be booked, okay? So yes. All right, now moving on from this, guys, let's go down to number 3, okay, in the inquiry process. So you want to make sure you tell the group leader to allow up to 1 to 2 weeks maximum. That seems like a lot of time, guys, I know, but just tell them 1 to 2 weeks maximum before they get a price quote from you. Why? Because you first have to do the research process to narrow down options you want to give a price quote for, right? That's step 1. Step 2, you then need to contact the vendor and get the group rates, group quote from them, okay? The processing time for all of that truthfully depends on the type of travel and the vendor, the number of rooms, a lot of different things, guys. So just tell your client it'll take up to a week, 2 weeks at maximum to get that information from you to start. All right. Cruises do take the least amount of time because You can either, like I mentioned before, call the cruise line to establish your group, or you go right into the cruise booking portal, travel agent portal, okay? And you can set that group up yourself a lot of times. And I'm not going to get into logistics of that because that's a whole nother hour-long training. All right, guys. So there is that for you. And then lastly, of course, make sure you are going to the travel cafe, okay, through the back office, going to the group tab. Make sure that you are going to be meeting the requirements that Archer has for that. And I'm going to show you that real quick. Let me pause sharing. Let me get that pulled up for you guys. Computer's acting a little slow. Hopefully we get there. Well, that's thinking. Let me take a look at some questions here. Where did I leave off? Let's see. Here, let's see. When I create the group, does the price change automatically, or do I notify the cruise line? How do I know what the group rate is? That's, again, a very specific question, right? So when you either call the vendor or create a group booking on the cruise site, it's a very specific process that you go through. It's, again, hard to describe in this type of training, okay? But you'll know what it is because you'll be told what it is, or you'll see what it is, okay? So if it is your first time doing a group booking, guys, I recommend finding a training on on creating groups for that specific vendor so that you know you're walking through that process the correct way. All right, I'm almost where I need to be, so sorry, guys. Thinking. Awesome. All right, let me start sharing again. All right, so here we are in the travel cafe, okay? You're going to go to the group bookings tab over here on the side. It is still loading for me. My goodness. All right, and here is all of the info you need to look at, okay? So they have hotels, air, cruising. So dependent on what your clients need, come here, take a look at what is required before you officially get started on booking things, okay? You don't want to miss any steps. I'm not going to get nitty gritty into this because you yourself can go here and look, okay? So again, it's in the travel cafe under the group bookings tab. All right, so take a look at all that in your own time. Just wanted to show where that is. Now, coming back here, we're now going to go down to the research process, okay? So we are now on page 3 of that Google Doc. April, let me see here. How long does groupies take to get back to you with a quote? In my experience, I've gotten stuff back either same day or within 48 hours, usually no longer. What I tell you guys is if you go that route, honestly, in general, guys, when you request a group quote from a vendor and you don't hear back from them for like 2 days, that's a little long in my opinion. So I would call them to make sure they actually received your quote. I do have that noted in here along the way. Actually, it's in the research process section. So look at you, April. We're segueing nicely right into this. So let's go there. All right. So in the research process, guys, number 1, I recommend choosing 2 to 3 options for your group to take a look at, okay? So you want one that's maybe low budget, middle budget, and high budget. And this is something I recommend just for any client booking or, price quote that you're giving, okay? So there is that. And I recommend comparing prices for the exact same type of itinerary across maybe 1 or 2 other places, just to ensure you're going to be getting the best rate for your group. Okay, so again, that's another reason why you might want to wait. 1, to tell your clients that, oh my gosh, guys, sorry, my brain, tell your group leader that they should expect up to 1 to 2 weeks to hear from you. Because you're going to be going through that price comparison process. That's going to take time as well because you have to hear back from those various places. All right, so that is number 1. Number 2, when you are doing your price quote for your group leader, be as detailed as possible with the quote, okay? So you want to include quality photos. You don't want anything blurry, things like that, okay? Make sure they're good quality. You want to include, of course, what is in their stay. get nitty gritty, okay? If it's something like an all-inclusive resort, make sure they know if they're getting resort credits, what is actually all-inclusive at that resort, things like that. And the same goes for the cruising side of things as well. Let them know exactly what is included in their cruise fare. All right, so there is that. Next, any group amenities that will be available for a certain number of rooms booked, okay? So for example, on my group cruise, I knew that the group wanted 30 rooms, okay? So I blocked out 30 rooms. We only booked 20, okay? But I told them in the early stages of things, you are going to gain points to redeem amenities. Here are the number of rooms needed for this, this, and this, okay? And again, that's something you can call the vendor to know. Let's see, next. Where is it? Activity options, okay? If they request that, you want to provide some options. Guess what? If they don't request that, go above and beyond and give them some ideas, okay? That's just good customer service, in my opinion. Next, travel insurance options, okay? Everyone should be protecting their travel. If they decline it, it is what it is, but you want to provide those options as well. And any other details that would be a deciding factor for the group, okay? Next, number 3, send your price quote directly to the group leader. Again, you don't want to send this out to, if we're looking back on my group cruise I just work with, 30 rooms of people, okay? I don't want to send that out to 60 people, okay? Because I'm going to be getting all kinds of emails in my inbox all day for the next week, probably with questions, okay? So just give it to the group leader. Have them take a look at it, and you want to put all of that information in one document so that the group leader can share that with the group members, okay? So there is that, and again, that way you're only having one conversation with one person, all right? Next here, number 4, I mentioned this before, but again, when you request that group quote from a vendor, guys, if you're waiting up to 2 to 3 days to hear back, call them, make sure that they actually received your request, okay? I even call same day and ask, hey, just wanted to make sure you got what I sent in, and then you have peace of mind, right? Awesome. All right, so let me pause here again and check my chat box. Let's see, Inicia, let's see. If you book more rooms than necessary, does that affect the group rate? Like if you book 10 additional rooms. So with group travel, guys, and I guess this kind of goes along with the research process a little bit. So in the research process, again, you have to know how many rooms your group needs as a baseline, right? And I tell people add a few more on in case you do exceed that amount, okay? If you have, for example, a block of rooms, 10 of them, you book all of them and still need more, you might need to create a whole different block of rooms, okay? Because once that specific block of rooms is booked, that was a setup contract that you have with that vendor, right? So you can't exceed that and still get the group rate, if that makes sense, okay? So that's why it's super important that you're properly qualifying and getting that right number of rooms, and just add on a few as a buffer. All right, so we went through the research process. Any other questions about that piece of things or anything prior before I keep going? It's a lot of information, guys, right? I know. That's why we have this lovely document over here for you, okay? Let's see, Kaylee. When I started with the group of 20, let me scroll up here. When you started with the group of 20 and added 10 more, what benefits were you advertising for the perks of getting in on this group booking deal for clients? Oh, I see. Yes. So the way that I worded my advertisement is what drew people in. So I told them it is a special rate specific from me that you can't get anywhere else. Okay, so that's what I did, and people jumped on it. All right, and the reason I got 10 more rooms is because I was consistently advertising that, okay? So I didn't just post it once and say, okay, I'm calling it a day. If I get some, cool. If not, whatever. You want to be consistent. Keep posting that at least once a week for the next couple weeks, okay? And also keep people updated on, I have this many rooms left in this category, so on and so forth, okay? Let me see your second part here. Did I have any specific hurdle that people, any specific hurdle people don't meet with requirements from group travel on the travel cafe? No, not in my experience. All right. That's why it's important to check that group tab first to make sure you do everything correctly so you don't run into any hurdles, right? Lindsay, yeah, usually you can call and have rooms added on. It just depends on the type of group you have as well, okay? So that's why I said it the way I did. But yeah, that is true. Let me see here. From Tracy, how do you manage the deposits for additional rooms in the group that are not yet spoken for? Let me reread that. Let's see. How do you manage the deposits for the additional rooms in the group that are not yet spoken for? So that is why, guys, you never want to request a contract group. Okay, don't do it. Okay, you always want to do a flexible group. Because if you do a contract group, guys, that is going to be a specific set number of rooms at a set price, of course, right? And you're responsible for the rooms that don't get booked. Okay, so I've never needed to worry about that because I always do flexible groups. And the flexible group allows for, again, if some rooms don't get booked, you're not penalized for that. Okay, so again, flexible group is the way to go. All right, next question here. Oh, Diane, let's see. I'll re-answer your question. When I create the group, does the price sheet automatically cruise line? Oh, so I did answer that. Yes. Yeah, so how do I know what the group rate is specifically, right? So that's a very detailed answer. Okay, it's truthfully completely dependent on where you go for things, but you're going to know what it is, right? They're going to either, if you call the vendor, they're going to tell you what the group rate is, or you're physically creating the group, such as maybe with a cruise line, you're going to know exactly what those group rates are. And so my recommendation for that as well is if you have a group come to you and you're using a specific vendor for that group, find a training on it so that you fully understand the booking process with that specific vendor. Okay. Yes, thank you, Lindsay. Let's see here. You're welcome, Tracy. And I think that's the end of my questions. Awesome. All right, so let's keep going, guys. We're now going to talk about the booking process. Is everyone still with me? Yes? Making sure people are paying attention here. Yes? I got one yes. Oh, no. Good. All right, awesome. Thanks, guys. Wonderful. All right, and Alyssa, you asked, do you have to have passports or birth certificates for all cruise lines, even if you are only cruising in the US? I'm just going to tell you this. Everyone should have a passport, regardless, okay? You can call a cruise line and ask if that specific itinerary allows for a birth certificate instead of the passport, okay? But you always want to make sure people do have passports. Let's see here. All right, awesome. We're all here. Let's keep going. So now we'll talk about the booking process. Okay. Once you have established your group of rooms, it kind of follows a similar booking process as you would with any individual client, okay? As in, you do need that credit card authorization form before you officially make any payment for a booking for a client, okay? So yes, you need to have that first, always, okay? With that being said, let's also talk about these other things that I personally have done with my groups I've worked with, okay? So first off, have each individual booking within your group contact you directly to place their deposit and payments, okay? So sometimes people will have the group leader collect everything and then pay, but personally for me, I do like to establish relationship with those individual clients in the group, okay? So I tell them, contact me between this time frame for XYZ, okay? So I do that. And again, I do make sure I have that credit card authorization form completed in my hands before I do those payments. Number two here, you want to let each individual client know that you look forward to working with them in the future. Again, you want to create those extra clients. I just said it, not going to spend too much time on that. So moving on to number 3, okay? One thing I like to do is once the group has settled on the exact itinerary they want, we're going to start booking. I create a flyer with all of the information about the travel on it, okay? That's a whole other training again, but I do have a list of some basic information you're going to want on that flyer so that people are informed of everything that's going on. All right. So on that flyer is going to have also your contact info so that they are contacting you directly to get their payments made, along with due dates, all kinds of other information. All right. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. Let's see. Okay, yes, so there is that. You guys can take a look at those little extra things for that flyer. I do see a question here. Let me see. Hi, Gabrielle. Let's see. Oh yeah, so it's not necessarily only for children, okay? Yes, adults can get away with just a birth certificate, but it has to be for a specific itinerary type, okay? Which is why I don't want to give a blanket term of if it's closed loop, you can just have a birth certificate, because that's not always true, okay? So you want to always call the cruise line and make sure that that's okay, all right? So not just for kids, it can be for adults as well. All right, awesome. Any questions about the booking process information that I've shared? Again, like I said, guys, you're going to follow the same process you would with any of your individual clients. This is just for a lot more people. All right. But any questions? We have one more section we're going to go over, but I want to pause for a moment. I'm going to keep going. We might have some, oh, here we go. Let's see. Are there disadvantages to having one person collect all the money? I don't necessarily think it's a disadvantage, okay, because everything's all in one place and it's just one form of payment, okay? It's just a preference, in my opinion. I prefer everyone coming to me individually. Let's see here. And then Kelly, you asked, benefits of doing a group booking varies from each vendor. Yes, okay, so it does depend. The cruise lines, they have different types of amenities for different number of rooms booked. Yeah, it's a whole, everything's different. And the main benefit, yes, is a lower rate, okay, typically. So there is that. All right, anything else, guys, real quick before I move on to our last part? And I'm gonna get some coffee while I wait. All right, I don't see anything, so I'm going to keep going. If something does pop up, I will visit that in just a moment. All right, so now we're going to talk about managing your group bookings. Again, this is solely from my perspective and what I have done, guys, okay? So with that being said, number one, you want to keep track of all of the individual bookings in your group, okay? So earlier on, I shared a spreadsheet. We're going to take a look at that now. I will post it again individually in the chat for everyone to look at. All right, so that is the spreadsheet. Here's what it looks like. We'll quickly walk through it. It's pretty self-explanatory, okay? So here you're gonna have the traveler name, the lead for each room, okay? So for example, with my group cruise that I booked, I had 30 rooms, right? So the traveler name was the person who was paying for that room, okay? So there is that, and I have all of the information associated with their booking here, all the way down to when they made their deposit, when they made any additional payments before the final payment, and then of course, did they make their final payment yet, okay? And that's gonna help me along the way as I get closer to that final payment date too. Guess what? I can just go here, pretend that there's emails here, okay? Go here and go here, copy those emails, put it all in a BCC in an email, and done. Okay, super easy. So that's one main reason to have a spreadsheet like this. Also, you then have a good visual of the rooms that have been booked, right? So you're going to know the number of rooms in a specific category that are taken so that you are prepared to, when someone calls you and asks, how many interior rooms do you have left on that group cruise, right? You're going to know right then and there. All right, and of course, reservation numbers, just to have that in one place to search them within the vendor when needed and things like that. Okay, guys, let me see here. I have some questions. I'm just reading what you guys are talking about here. One second. Let's see. It's not always letting me. Okay, I see. Yes. All right, awesome. So there is that. Any questions about the spreadsheets? Probably not. Self-explanatory, right? But you are able to go to File and make a copy. That's the only way you're going to have a version to edit for yourself. Okay. So there is that. Now let's come back to here. All right. So there is that. I did edit this, so it's not just for cruises. Let me fix that. Awesome. All right. Number 2 here. Another thing I do is I always send an invoice and receipt. Sometimes the invoice is the receipt, okay, with the payment amount that was made for every payment my clients make on their booking, okay? That's in general and in groups, okay? And I keep a folder. For example, my group cruise, it was labeled as group cruise. In that folder, I had individual folders for each booking, okay? And that is where I kept all the invoices, receipts, and their booking information. All right, so you want that so you have ease of access in case it's ever needed, okay? One thing I came across in my group cruise is, well, people didn't save those documents, okay? And so when I sent an email 30 days prior to their final payment, I had a bunch of people asking me, wait, I don't know what my final balance is. Can you tell me? I sure can, because guess what? I kept it in a file folder. So it's just a really quick, smooth process for me. Okay, so staying organized is critical, guys. And let me make sure I touched on everything in here. Yes, okay. So there is that. Number 3, don't forget to submit your commission tracking forms, okay? Group bookings can be a beast of a booking, okay? Because you're working with a lot of people. There's a lot of things going on that you have to keep track of. So it can be easy to forget to submit that commission tracking form, ironically enough, right? Because that is what pays you. Okay, so make sure you maybe want to, in your group management template, add submit commission tracking form. I'm going to throw that in there for you guys as well. All right. And there is that. I'd hate for you to not get paid for all the wonderful work you have done. All right, so coming back here, in the group booking tab in the travel cafe, we'll go there again. You're gonna see group booking commission form, okay? So that is where you're gonna go to submit all of your commission tracking forms for your group, okay? So we'll take a look at that really quick here. Still thinking. Here we go. All right, so it's sort of similar in terms of what it asks for. All right, so you'll fill all of this stuff out. All right, and then down here, they do ask for the group contracts. You're going to have to upload that file here. You should be able to find that within your group ID in the vendor itself. All right, so there is that. Now, let me come back to here. So we talked about that. I don't think I missed anything. Yes. Oh, the one piece here, guys, is I do say, wait to put that commission tracking form in until the final payment has been made, okay? Because I had it happen personally in my group cruise where people put a deposit down and then it got close to the final payment date and they said, oh, shoot, I can't go anymore. All right. And so that, of course, is going to change how many forms you're filling out and things like that. So just wait until those final payments are made and then make it a point to go in and submit all of those at once. And then guess what? It is all done. All right. Number 4 here, contact the lead of each booking in your group. What do I mean by that? Again, we go back to this. Okay. I mentioned on this spreadsheet, the names I'm putting down here for the traveler names are just the people who are paying for that room. Okay, so you only want to contact them because it's the one that's paying, right? You don't have to email every single person in every single room. Let's see here. All right, so there is that. Yes, so contact them 30 days before the final payment date, okay? 30 days. So that they know, A, what the remaining balance is, what the due date is. Yes, you have told them this prior, right? But everyone needs a reminder, okay? And one thing I recommend, guys, is we all know vendors give us a final payment date, right? I recommend telling them, your clients, people within the group, 1 week before that as their final payment date. Because if you have people who forget or something happens to their card or their money is not in the right place and you tell them the same final due date as what the vendor said and they can't do it by then, they've lost out on going on that cruise, vacation, whatever it is, right? So tell them a week in advance from what the vendor's telling you, just to have a nice buffer for you and for them. All right. And then lastly, once everything is said and done for, everyone has made their payments, everyone's locked in on this vacation, fully paid for, you want to send everyone a full and finalized itinerary, okay, that has all of the special details, their flight information if they have it, the exact cruise itinerary, the name of the hotel, things like that. Give all that specific information so that everyone is on the same page for their travel. All right, guys. So that is a lot, right? Like I said, we've been talking for about 50 minutes now about all this. So again, that is why I have this document for you. I will post it one more time in the chat. We're not done yet, so hold on. Okay. I will answer some questions if I have them. But there is that overall document for you guys, all right? That spreadsheet is hyperlinked on the last page as well for you to have. All right, so let me see. Callie, you asked opinion question. Favorite cruise line to work with? Great question. I really like working with Royal Caribbean. I think that their group department is incredibly professional and easy to work with, okay? I bothered them so much. I was calling them a lot and they were just extremely helpful. They had an answer for every single question I had with no hesitation. So they were great. Let's see. And then your other question here, let's see. If they have paid in full but are not going for 9 months, should you still go ahead and submit the tracking form? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So what you're saying is if there's a lot of time between their final payment date and when they're traveling, I still would, yes, because 9 months goes by and you might have forgotten to do that, right? So again, make it a routine for yourself. As soon as a final payment's made, just go straight to the travel cafe, fill out that commission tracking form so it's done. All right. Any other questions? Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. Tracy, you asked, do you create a hotel group rate for those traveling in the night before? Do you mean like last minute travelers? Is that what you mean, Tracy?
I guess I can take myself off mute, meaning when the whole group flies in, say the day before, to make sure they don't miss the cruise and they need a hotel. Do you do a group rate for a hotel nearby the terminal?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So that's actually, I'm glad you asked that. Yeah. So guys, on top of all of that, you definitely want to say someone comes to you, a group comes to you, they just want the cruise, right? I'm going to tell you, it is highly unlikely that they just want the cruise for every single person in the group. Okay. Especially if people are coming from all over the place. So yeah, definitely push out there to the group. Hey, if you need pre-post cruise hotel or, any of those extra bells and whistles, to come directly to you for those things. It's going to be more commission for you in the end. All right. So yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Let's see, Adriana, let's see. You're still confused on booking more rooms than what you actually, oh, hold on, I keep scrolling down, than what you actually need as far as it affecting the price. Let me think of another way to explain it. I guess, Adriana, I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about that factor, okay? The point is that you want to have more rooms than what the group needs, okay? The price is going to be the price. If you don't book all the rooms, again, you're going to do a flexible group because I told you to, right? You don't have to worry about those extra rooms. If you have done a flexible group, you don't have to worry about them. It doesn't matter. They're just going to kind of go into the abyss and they don't matter anymore once the due date for the group deposit is done. Okay. Jasmine, awesome. Oh my gosh, a 15-year class reunion. That is incredible. I hope that that is your biggest booking ever because that's amazing. Congratulations on that. Let's see, Bernadette. Let's see, if you have a vendor that doesn't give individual confirmation numbers for each traveler, what number do you put on the commission tracking form? So here, let me see, I forget if they have, so see right here, they have a confirmation number for the group. So you're gonna put the group ID, but I'm gonna tell you guys, the group ID is just the holder of all of the rooms, so to speak, in your group, okay? But every booking you make is going to have an individual confirmation number, okay? It has to, because you can't have everyone in your group under one reservation number because that would be technically one room, okay? So you'll have that information. You'll be able to fill that out, okay? Let me see here. Oh, Samantha, you're very welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Ellen, yes, I can share my YouTube. Give me 1 second, guys, to type that out for you. I don't know that this will be public, okay? But I do have other trainings that are public on my YouTube. That should be right. I think I typed it right. If it's wrong, let me know, guys, okay? But let me go up and see these other questions. Julie, you beat me to it. Thank you. All right, let's see. Jasmine, you asked if there are extra rooms. Oh, thanks. You'd like to extend it to me. That's so lovely. Hey, if I can go, I might just go. All right, let's see. Kelly, yes, exactly right. Yeah, so if you want to make sure you do that flexible group, because again, if you don't fill all of the rooms in that group, everyone still gets that group rate once the deposit's made, right? And those other rooms just disappear, right? No worries at all. You're not financially responsible. If you do a contracted group, that's the red flag, okay? You're gonna get responsibility for those rooms that do not get booked. You do not want that. So always do a flexible group, guys. Okay. I cannot stress it enough. Let's see. Is there a checkbox for flexible group travel? You should definitely know the difference, especially if you go into Vax Vacation Access. Okay. I can show you really quick. And while it's loading, I'll answer other questions. I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment so I can get logged into that. But let's see here. So Harold, I'm going to come back to that in just a second, all right? And then Lindsay, let's see. Yeah, it does depend on the type of group you are doing, right? Absolutely. But you, again, want to request that flexible group if it's available. Ellen, I don't have a group Travel Joy training. I do have a general Travel Joy training on my YouTube. Okay. Let's see. And it just goes over the basics. It's an overview, things like that. I will be doing more Travel Joy trainings in the future. Okay. Because I love it. It's amazing, especially with groups. I just haven't gotten into it on there. So let's see. Izzy. When I refer to flexible group, is that the affinity option I see in the cruise line websites? Yes. Okay. I know with Royal Caribbean it is. Personally, I haven't done other cruise lines for groups, but I believe it would be Infinity for others. And then Kelly, let's see. How did you find your first big group? Just advertising or family/friends? So my group cruise came from my father-in-law, ironically enough. All right. So it started with family, but the group leader does an annual group cruise with a pickleball group of people in Florida. Okay. So my father-in-law had gone on his group cruise last year and said, hey, my daughter-in-law is a travel agent, so it'd be perfect to help us next time around. And so here we are. All right. That was that 30 room group cruise I've been talking about. Okay. Let's see, then Samantha, what are pros or cons when booking a flexible versus a contracted group? So the biggest one, first of all, a flexible group is just that it's flexible, right? So again, if you request a certain number of rooms and you don't fill all of them, you're not financially responsible for the ones that are not full, okay? Versus with a contracted group, if you don't book all the rooms in that block of rooms, you're financially responsible for compensating the vendor for those unbooked rooms, okay? So that's really the biggest pro and con, both of which are going to come with group amenities, okay? There's not really any more outside of that I could think of, okay? All right, awesome. Let me go ahead and stop our recording, guys. 1 second.